Hi guys, welcome to the month of May and a brand new set of dispatches. We've all been working very hard here and we're still working hard, but let's get down to what we've got today. Now, as many of you know, obviously the Middle East is very much in the news at the moment, and one of the series that we've been working on for a few years now has been our series of IDF, or Israeli Defense Forces, one of my favourite subjects. And with watching the news over the last 6 months, I was learning a lot more about the IDF and the different units within the IDF. Now, the previous releases that we've had have covered mainly paratroopers, Israeli paratroopers of the Israel Defense Force, but we decided to broaden it out, and one of the other units that we came across that's got a very interesting history is a unit called the Golani Brigade. The Golani Brigade goes all the way back to the foundation of Israel in 1948 and was one of 5 original infantry brigades that were formed around then and have continued to serve throughout all the years since. However, what happened after the 1956 Sinai War was, at that time the Golani Brigade were just another infantry brigade, but the government decided to send several hundred paratroop officers into that brigade, and they formed a nucleus and a type of training that made the whole brigade much more elite. And in fact, they began to take on a commando role within the Israeli forces. Since that period, they've been involved in every major confrontation that the IDF in Israel has been involved in. And what we've decided is we've concentrated on the period after Yom Kippur in 1973 to about 1981. And the Golani Brigade were involved in literally hundreds of operations in all parts of the Middle East, but particularly in Lebanon. So what we've got here is 2 little 2-man sets that we're bringing out. We've got the officer that's obviously on the headset of the ANPR-25, I think it's the American radio set, same one as was used in Vietnam, but was still very much used during those years with the IDF. So he's on the headset. His kneeling radio man is down taking cover. But what's also interesting is both of them are carrying a brand new Israeli, for that time, Israeli designed assault rifle. And that was called the Galil. It was again a 5.56 mm weapon, but it incorporated many of the lessons that the Israelis themselves had learned during the previous 20 years. Development on the Galil actually began in the 1960s, but it became into much more widespread use, particularly after the 73 Yom Kippur War. All of our guys here, apart from the sniper, is actually carrying the Galil short-barreled version. There was actually several versions released, but the one we've chosen to use is the short-barreled, and again, all of them have a folding stock. The other set that we've got here, 2-man figure, is a sniper team, and you've got this IDF soldier. And again, you'll see that some IDF soldiers, especially maybe those that are more Orthodox Jewish, would wear a Jewish skull cap under their helmet, and this sniper is no exception. But the weapon that he's carrying is actually the M21. Now, the M21 was basically a very accurized version of the American M14 rifle, fitted with a sniper scope. And being a sniper, he's also carrying a pair of binoculars. And you'll also see that his number 2 guy, who really is his bodyguard spotter, he also has a pair of binos. So obviously, while one guy's concentrating on the target, the other guy is making sure that they're protected. So this is a little 4 figures here, and you'll see as they're taking cover at the moment behind our IDF Centurion tank, or the IDF version of the Centurion tank, which we've still got a few available. One of my favourite tanks, by the way, not just the Israeli version, but the Aussie version, and of course the British version that was very much in use for more than 25 years. So leaving those guys behind, let's jump back a couple of millennium back to ancient Rome, and you'll see the latest figures from the ancient Rome Streets of Ancient Rome series. Among them is this little ox cart here, called really the farmer's cart, and this farmer is either going to the market or coming back from it, who knows, but it was based on an earlier version that we produced for our Life of Jesus series. And again, we know that many of our new Roman streets collectors had wanted to get hold of that early version, no longer available. So therefore we decided to do a brand new version, and what makes it a different cart, by the way, and it's got a removable load. So you can empty that load, you can put that one in thus, or take it out, and separately you can buy a little set of barrels that also fit into the cart. So these set of barrels, by the way, can work with any of the buildings that our friends at Last Post down in Australia are producing. Now, in addition to the farmer's cart, we've also releasing, and some of you have seen these before, the 2 carpenters that are hard at work here. Little 2-man set, great for any street scene. And this one here is a Celtic slave woman. Now, Rome, ancient Rome, of course, was really a city of senators and slaves and everything in between. And obviously with Rome being having an empire that stretched from all the way from the Middle East all the way to what was then called Britannia, and everything in between, they captured many slaves and brought them to work and live in ancient Rome. And this lady is no exception. And here you can, well, we assume she's Celtic because she's wearing some kind of ancient tartan cloak over her shoulders, and she's carrying a tray of freshly baked bread and either a jug of water, or it might be a jug of wine even. Maybe she's taking it to her employers or owners maybe. Now here at the back, here's another little 2-man set, and again this is just a useful civilian set where you've got a couple of guys talking to each other, or maybe they're just watching the passing scene in the street, but they're available as well. And also individual figures. We've got middle-class lady out doing some shopping, complete with a shopping basket. Looks like she's got some apples in it. And we've even got some walking civilians, like these 2 guys here. So again, all part of Streets of Ancient Rome. The building you see in the back here is not one of Last Post's buildings. This is one that I built just to help show off our figures. We're actually waiting on the Last Post buildings arriving, so probably next time we release some ancient Rome figures, you'll see them with those buildings as well. But this is just a little one that I made myself just to help us display some items. Now we go from ancient Rome all the way forward here to the age of Napoleon, and a little story behind these 2 new Napoleon figures. Back in December, I was in Paris for the first time in 4 years, and it was great to visit our collectors there, and especially to meet up with our French dealers, or some of our French dealers. And while I was there, of course, we always talk about, well, what new items would you like to see? What would you like King Country to produce? And the 2 ladies, Sylvie and Marie Alix, who run a fabulous little toy soldier shop in the heart of Paris called Sol de Thalys, literally a short walk from the Arc de Triomphe, right in the centre of the city. Beautiful store. Among the several things that they mentioned was, we'd really like to see a new standing figure of Napoleon. And I thought, yeah, we haven't done one for a little while. And they gave me a lot of other ideas as well, but that was one that stuck in my mind. And then a couple of days later, we met up with Philippe, Valerie and Pierre of Figurines and Collections, one of our other top French dealers. And again, we're talking about what you would like to see and what you wish we'd come up with. And they again, yeah, we could do with a figure of Napoleon. So putting two and two together and hopefully getting four, I thought, great, yeah, let's do one. So the day following that meeting, I went to another of my favourite destinations in Paris, which is Les Invalides. Les Invalides was originally a military hospital for veterans. It was actually, I think I'm right in saying this, it was actually founded by Louis XIV. But in the years since that, and obviously following the revolution, it went from being a military hospital for veterans, and eventually it became a superb military museum, certainly for the age of Napoleon. And when you enter Les Invalides, you walk under an archway into a beautiful big cobblestone square, and high above the square in a niche is a larger-than-life statue of the emperor himself. And he's very much in a typical Napoleonic pose, and the uniform he's wearing that long greatcoat that you often see in paintings and movies, and obviously in statues and other figurines. I really loved that pose, and I took a whole bunch of photographs thinking that'll make an ideal new Napoleonic figure. And then I went into the museum gift store, which again, if you ever visit Paris and visit Les Invalides, you must visit the gift store. It's probably one of the finest museum gift stores anywhere. Fabulous books, lots of great memorabilia, and all kinds of great things that you can buy. And then, as I was looking around, what do I see but an exact 12-inch replica of the statue that's outside above the square. So of course, fortunately for me, it was the last one that they had, so I was able to buy it, brought it back to Hong Kong, and immediately notified our top sculptor, said, look, here's this pose, I want exactly that uniform, this pose, study this and make a 1/30 scale Napoleon of that, which he did. Wonderful job. Now, if you look closely, you'll see that Napoleon is wearing same figure, but two different uniforms. Two of the favourite uniforms that Napoleon wore while campaigning all across Europe and into Russia and elsewhere were the blue and white uniform of a colonel of the Imperial Guard, or his Imperial Guard, sometimes called the Old Guard. And you'll see this again, you'll see it in many paintings, in other statues, in other figures. And the other famous uniform he wore was, again, a colonel of the Chasseurs à Cheval, again, of his own Imperial Guard. And this is one of the mounted regiments that provided the close escort to the emperor on horseback or in his carriage while he was traversing all over Europe and elsewhere. So those are the two uniforms that we've done, and that's I think they're great little figures and can fit into any Napoleonic collection. Finally, moving aside my glass of water, we've got two little additions to our World War II USMC. And what basically we've got here is a gunnery sergeant who's pointing with one arm and holding his 1928 Thompson in the other. The other figure is a shouting officer. Well, he might be shouting or just commanding his troops. And again, he's got the M1 carbine in his hand. Both of them, to fit in with our recent Marines, have got the full pack and roll over the top, the camouflage tent cover roll, and just fit in very easily with any World War II US Marines in the Pacific. They can even be used for Korea because the uniforms and equipment that the Marines in the Pacific used were very much still in use in the Korean conflict from 1950 to 1953. So, there you have it, releases for the month of April. I'm hoping that we'll also post a photograph, a little preview of one of the items that's coming out in June. And I think June's going to be a very busy month. We've got a lot of figures coming, and of course, I hope, fingers crossed, we've got our all-metal Sherman tanks, 2 of them, and a whole bunch of figures that go with them. So on that cheerful note, I'll let you go for now, and if we don't speak before, we'll speak in June. Cheers.